Oh, look out, ladies and gentlemen. It is One Page Story Extravaganza, episode 151 of this year. 151! Yeah, so good stuff. Okay, so hi, how are you? I don't have today's page up because we're just getting back from a family thing. So, funeral for someone in the family. So I'm catching up, but give me a second, I'll be with you. So the original for this page I did yesterday in the stream, right? And this is one of those suggestions that goes way out on a ledge, right? Like it just goes sort of, the suggestion was letters versus numbers as characters from Jim Luan. And it sounds great, but it's actually quite, quite something really, because what does that leave you to do? I mean, it sort of sets you up with, no matter what, you're going to have to look outside the box for a narrative like that because you've only got letters and numbers to use. So I did my best. I think it turned out okay. So we'll see what all the yolks out there and the big old smoke there thinks about it, So there's a finished copy right there. And so I did a little bit of changing around on it, moved it up, the title from the bottom of where I did in the original art. And once the text is on there, it makes a little bit more sense. It sort of comes together a little bit better, I think. Anyways, is this the Taylor Swift fan club? Taylor, you look different. What's going on? My boyfriend broke my heart. And now I feel sad that I made a joke. My condolences. Oh, no. It was brother-in-law's father. So it was... I didn't really know him, unfortunately, but just because he was already sick and when we met everybody 15 years ago. So 13 years ago. Having a little sip of my tiny cup of coffee. Kids got me that cup. They finally found me a cup that's dad-sized. So, okay. So anyways, I wanted to talk about a couple of different things. But this is today's page. Thank you so much for the suggestion, Jim. This is page 211 in our 211 days in a row of doing a page of comic story. So, yeah. So we've got a few more things on the docket. If you want to see the original for this, other than just me holding it up, it's on my Patreon. I'm going to talk to you about Patreon in a second, but it's also going to be on the Substack. I've got to finish that post today, but we have been doing all kinds of stuff, like sending the PDF for the book in today. So we'll see how that goes. It was a whole big deal, and Lori came and helped me out on how to figure out how to compress all of those files onto one PDF to get that sent off. And to get it sent off to our one reviewer right now, maybe another one. By the way, Outnumbered, that is genius. I'm glad you like it. I thought the most about the title. A few words to add. So there's both sides of the conflict. There we go. Both sides of the conflict. So I'm a patron and American taxpayer. Demand to speak to your manager. Yep. Hello. Hi, I'm Lori. No, it doesn't work. There's no way I could be as much a lady as my wife is. Okay, so yeah, if you want to see the original for that, it's on Patreon. If you want to see the whole list of this week's books, that'll be on the Substack. Substack's free. We'll be adding more stuff to a paying tier on Substack soon, but for now, it's Patreon. Also, so speaking of the Patreon, I've got an idea. Now, the suggestion being this: if people are interested, and anybody wants to take one of the one-page stories that I've done, relatively recently, and record an audio file of them reading it, I would love that immensely. Oh, hi, Dee Dee. I'm sorry I missed you coming in. Hello. And thank you both for your comments on Instagram. It was really nice. I'm glad I made Dee Dee roll. She rolled around on her floor. Anyhow, if you record an audio file of you doing the sounds and reading one of the one-page stories and send that to me, I will send you an original piece of art. So we'll use those audio files and put them on our Patreon for any of our patrons that are there to be able to check that out while they're reading the page, so they can get another take on how that page is being interpreted by somebody else, because I kind of like that. So yeah, and before we forget, thank you for the reminder. Tomorrow night at 7 p.m. PST, 10 p.m. EST, there'll be another episode of Hey Man, how's your movie going? So with on Jim Luann's channel. So please check that out. I know I've got the notification on for it already. I'm very excited about it. As soon as I come home and I open up the thingamajig and who's it? Yeah, there it came up. So I said, yes, notify me, by goodness. All right. Oh, Dee Dee's got the made in the shade look. Okay, so again, thank you for yesterday's suggestion. The sort of vision that I had for it as we were going through the process of it, I tried to describe it. I even wrote it out, the text on a piece of paper as we were going through the visual elements of it. I hope that came across and made some sense, because I feel like it went the way I wanted it to. I feel like it actually turned out how I had imagined it, including the duplication of one panel to extend a dialogue. So I'm really pleased with this page, and I'm really pleased with the challenge that it represented. Speaking of challenges, so a couple of things. One, I'm going to switch cameras for a second. It's okay. I'm here with you. We're together on this. So this is some sheets that I put together. Now, I showed you a book that I treasure called the Watch Annual. I didn't realize how expensive it was. So one of the things that I did is that I've got some example pages, and that's what these are. And let's draw an eye in black and white and gray, a little bit of blue. So what these are is me taking all these different mark making mediums that I use, except for colored pencils and colored watercolor and things like that. But there's still watercolor in here, and there's still, pencil crayon in here. It's just primarily doing it in a black and white scale. So what I've done with these pages is that I've drawn the same visual element, and that is this eye, and different interpretations of the same thing in all these different medium. And I've extended that out. Here's soft mediums like pastels and chalks and powders and stamps and things like that, and wax pencils, leadless pencil crayons on black paper, Conte charcoal, heavy B grade pencils. And then again, furthering that out again by putting down textures. All right, like here's a Letro, a Dayglow dot sat and gray toned overlay, and piece of canvas here, painted black, a piece of canvas painted white. And so the whole purpose of doing all these things is that I kind of like to keep a track on different approaches that I'll take to illustration. And honestly, as crazy as this looks, in my head, this might be the easiest way to represent that. So I'm going to add, the point of bringing this up is I'm adding to this third one because the jelly plating is an entire new thing. And so the jelly plating aspect is going to be incorporated on this page. I knew stuff was coming up. That's why I leave the space at the bottom like I do. So I'm going to do a little bit of this jelly plate approach on here, and then I've got some additional little mark making things that I do, testing out different inks, stuff like that. It's in the same folder, but I'm going to do a little bit of jelly plating stuff on here and some smack and dragon, snacky dragon. I don't know. I never say it correctly. Let's be honest. So I'm going to put some of those approaches on the bottom of this page as well. And then in order to show how much I love everybody, I'm going to be putting these on my Patreon. for my patrons to be able to get a look at as patron exclusives. So it's not that I don't love everybody, and I don't want anybody to feel left out. However, I'm trying to do additional things. Somebody just sent me $435. Oh, the Canada tax revenues. Do you think that might be not real, considering it's the wrong pluralization there? Anyways, so I might not open that message. So I'll be putting this material on the bottom of here today or tonight, and then I will be scanning these and putting these on my Patreon as exclusives for patrons to check out, in case it inspires anybody that's on there to engage in any of these approaches. So and Patreon's $3 a month, enough for me to buy a cup of Joe, although I make my coffee at home. So all right. So further news is the fact that we're sending the PDF in tonight with all the pages on it for with the book into publishing. So hurdles. Oops, that's not for you. That's not for you. Sorry. Okay. So yeah, lots and lots and lots and lots of things. I'm looking for the book of tricks. Here he is. What are you doing all the way over there, Jack? His name's not Jack. So if anybody's got stuff coming up in that, let me know. I'd love to hear it. Now I was doing 3 prompt Thursdays, but I realized I always want to draw the 3 prompt pages earlier in the week, and I push it off to Thursday for alliteration. And then this light bulb went off. Ding! See, if I was good at graphics, I'd just put the light bulb there. Tuesday works alliteratively as well. So it's 3 prompt Tuesday. Is that great? It sounds just like it was natural, sort of like a 3 prompt Thursday, 3 prompt Tuesday. Who knew you could switch it out? Okay, so let's see. We've got now I think I've got at least, I know I've got at least one standing right now, and that is Tan, Lavender, and Frankenstein. But I want to make sure that I got the previous one to this done before I go jumping into the fancy new one. I don't want to miss stuff. I want to try to, get everything going as I go across. And I just want to see. Okay, so I thought I had a 3 prompt here, adorable murderer ghost, but that's an actual suggestion. Now I got a really complex suggestion the other day, and my reaction to it was possibly not the best, and because I didn't believe it was a real thing. I think it was a one of those sort of AI ridiculous sentence, but apparently it's trending, and it just worries me that the internet is making us all dumb, because it's not a sentence, it's a bunch of bits of sentences that are all crammed together like it's pithy. But I'm still going to try it, even if I think it's ridiculous. So we'll get cracking into that. Who have we got joining us? Hi, Gary. Wouldn't DD be D squared? What? Why, what did I say? Did I say something silly? Okay, so Tan, Lavender, and Frankenstein is our suggestion. Now, I'm going to pull up an image in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. And what this image is I did Gareth. So I'm going to pull up a couple of pages here to show you. And what these are. Today's music, by the way, today's music of choice is the Rheostatics. And I really like the Rheostatics. I don't know if you're familiar with the Rheostatics, but I think you should become familiar with the Rheostatics because I like them very, very much. Okay, so I'm about to pull up a couple of pages to show you, and I thought we would continue this here. Now, this is 2 takes that I did on Frankenstein earlier. And so I'm going to switch over to our camera here. There we are. And so this is Stephen's first day of kindergarten. And alongside that is, just a second, just move this here. This is Stephen's first day of kindergarten. And so I represent him as a 5-6-year-old kid. And then this is Stephen goes for his driving test. So at this point, the Frankenstein monster is a teenager. And both of these pages are in the 1-page comic Extravaganza that came out last year. That's this one, right? I am a book. Look at me. So I thought we'd continue on this Frankenstein motif in the new format. We've already done this once with the Sam the Private Eye. We switched that to this new format. So why not continue it on? So every page, I start with Frankenstein brushing his teeth, and it says, "Hello, my name is Stephen. I'm brushing my teeth." And that's the beginning of every adventure. So I've learned some things since then. I would go back and change the size of the text on these pages now. But so here we are with our Frankenstein monster. And yeah, his driving test doesn't go too well. And there's references in the driving test to, like, this is my old school. And that's the school that he is at in the first page where he attends kindergarten. And then there's a joke in there that I don't think anyone will get. And that is his principal is Mr. Short. That's in the kindergarten page. This is the principal, Mr. Short. He goes, "Wow, you're tall!" And it's that's Martin Short. So yeah, SCTV. It influences us. So that's those 2 previous pages. So with today's suggestion of the blah, 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 blah. Words are not working for me today. So with today's suggestion of the 3 prompt words, I thought that we might as well just do a callback to that. So the first thing I'm going to do is refer back to our, "Hello, my name is Stephen. I'm brushing my teeth." So I'm just going to get that set up for myself on the screen so that I can refer to that image. Because it was fun. Or I might just leave the space for it and then cut it back in. So, but you know that that's what's going to be on the screen anyhow. So, all right. I hope everybody's doing well. If anybody has any stuff they want to update the rest of us with, please do. I've already mentioned Jim's. "Hey man, how's your movie going tomorrow night?" That's 10 p.m. EST, 7 p.m. PST. Does anybody have a preference for what I work in today? I think I'm just going to use a regular old drawing pencil, but, yeah, I'm just going to use drawing pencil. I don't want to have to think too much. There we go. In my newly organized and prettied up studio. Also, before I continue, I had the opportunity to make my way into the Craft Hive again in St. Thomas, Ontario, Canada. And if anybody is in that area, I highly recommend you go check that place out. For a small, independently owned art and craft store, they have everything. They had some new stencils that I picked up for jelly plating. which I'm excited to use. They carry Poscas, which are always sold out, the colors that I want at other places. And, little bits of odds and sods and everything under the sun that you can think of that when you think you need it, the other places don't have. Thank you, Didi. Pencil. So, yeah, if you're in the area, please check it out. There's all kinds of construction on the main street of St. Thomas right now, and they're going to have to deal with that until October, and that is brutal for a retailer. Brutal. With the store I used to work at, we had that for a solid year, and then we went right into COVID. So the shutdowns in front of a retail space that is not easily accessible or readily available for a person to even pull up in a vehicle into a parking spot in the street and go in and do what they need to do. When you have to go around the block and go make an effort to go in there, some people just don't. It's worth the effort. So, which place is this again, Chris? It's called the Craft Hive in St. Thomas. Relatively new, but fantabuloso. Yeah, strong words. Strong words. So I'm going to section off a piece of this page already for where we know I'm going to put that panel that I just showed you a few minutes ago. Hello, my name is Stephen. I'm brushing my teeth. This is how I introduce the Frankenstein monster on each of these pages. Why is that, Chris? Boy, I'm glad you asked. I think it's funny. Thank you once again, everyone, for your kind words and your responses to the page that I posted today. It's kind of an out on the limb page, and you don't really know what people are going to think about that, because as a somewhat representational artist, to just draw numbers and letters for a page, hello, by the way, Philip. I'm so sorry. That's brand new. They're relatively new. Now, Bijan is on Pall Mall Street in London, Ontario. Bijan's is great, but Bijan doesn't have tons of construction in front of his place right now. I love Bijan's. I'm friends with Bij, but as far as it goes for London, go to Bijan's. But as far as it goes for anywhere in and around St. Thomas, go check out the Craft Hive. Mother and daughter run it, and they're very nice people. Very nice people. Okay, so. All right, so today's suggestion is 3 words: tan, lavender, and Frankenstein. Frankenstein! I thought I'd start off by just getting right into it. Now, the first panel being the one that says, hello, my name is Stephen, I'm brushing my teeth, is a given. But our second panel, we're going to get right into our monster in a public crowd setting with paparazzi snapping photos on him. That's how I thought I'd start it. This is what happens when you're a big fancy fashion designer. Boy, let me tell you. Because I know you look at me and say, hey, fashion plate. Is it Thursday? No, we switched to Tuesday. I came in a bit late and missed the part. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Well, welcome aboard. Welcome aboard, Kat. I always want to do the 3 prompt page on Tuesday, and I force myself to wait till Thursday because of alliteration. 3 prompt Thursday. And then I realized, 3 prompt Tuesday. It's the same alliteration. So, blonde moment, right? It happens to the best of us. So, So these are, before I forget, I keep a ton of these around in the studio. And these are color erase pencils. And I like them very, very much. They're Prismacolor. Now, to my understanding, Prismacolor is discontinuing the production of these. I like them because they have a similar consistency to a good pencil crayon. But at the same time, there is a modicum of erasability with these things. And I find them very comfortable to draw with. And so, mind you, I got my gigantic pencil holder, but they come in there's all kinds of different colors out there. If you have the opportunity to try to find some of these online, I think you should try them because, yeah, I'm going to give a big old thumbs up to that. Only open stock discontinuation. What does that mean? Only open stock discontinuation. I bought, oh no. Prisma discontinued a lot of great stuff. That's unfortunate. Kitty says, I bought an extra set in case and camera took them. All I have left is this container, and it's got to get me through a while. Maybe I should slow down how much I drop. Maybe I just gotta slow it down, Rinsman. Just slow it down. There we go. Hey, look at this. I've got 2 things up on my screen at once. I didn't even know I could do that. Instead of leaning all over, it's right here. The whole world changes. Okay, so my big news for today is the fact that all of the pages are set up. Off the PDF goes to the publisher. Here we go. Getting ready for that book to come out. And that's, whoops, I'm sorry. Still got this up on screen right where I'm drawing. And I'm excited for that. I really am. I'm turning the light up. All right. Hopefully that's going to make some measure of improvement. Okay. Anything? Bueller? You can still buy them by set, just not individually. Oh, snap. Guess who's going to have to order some of that? Me. Janet's joined us. It's time to get this party started. Jan is coming up, so we better get this party started. So Lori and I had to attend a funeral this morning for brother-in-law's dad's passing. And didn't, it's sad, but that was a real, it's not, because that was a massive celebration. A celebration of life. And I got to tell you, I like that. I like that a lot. I like the way they did it. It was really nice. And right now in my head, it's beating out my idea of being shot into space, but with just old regular street fireworks. So, that's radical. That's how radical that was. I didn't check Blick online for individuals. How come you slackers haven't given this fine artist a thumbs up? Oh my goodness, Janet. It's nice of you. Okay, so we're putting in our first panel of, the first panel that we're working on in this moment. Now our first panel is, hello, my name is Stephen. I'll just jump that camera over to it. So this is hello, my name is Stephen, is the first panel that you see here. And I'm brushing my teeth. That's what I start each of these Frankenstein pages with. And so that'll be this panel. Okay. And then this panel sits in front of it. And so now we've aged up the Frankenstein monster once more. This time he's a fashion magnet because our suggestion, the 3 words suggested from the prompt bag are tan, lavender, and Frankenstein. For Frankenstein! So, okay, the other thing I put up, an open request for people if they're interested, for those that might have joined late, is if anybody wants to do an audio recording and read out one of the one-page stories that I've done, And if you email that to me so that I'll put it up on our Patreon. If people would like to do their version of how they read one of my pages, then I will do a drawing for them, or I will put them into a drawing, or I will, the operative word here being drawing for them. So that's out there in the wind. So if anybody is interested in taking that up, you're more than welcome to give it a go. I love it. And all my contact stuff is, on the bottom of the live stream here. So yeah, I just thought it'd be fun because, it's always interesting other people's takes on when you read something that I've done. It's not going to be the same as how it reads in my head. It's just not, because there's so much that is unique to you. And so when you add that factor into how you interpret something, it's going to have a wonderful uniqueness that I might not have considered at all. So I look forward to the possibility that someone's going to have a very different kind of reading. I might write the page with a sort of jokey joviality, and somebody might read it with a sarcastic, cynicism in how they interpret it's being said. And that might not have crossed my mind at the time. So that's compelling to me. Or maybe you do funny voices. Hey, maybe your voice is funny. Funny, Chris. Oh. So yeah, that's the opportunity that we're offering, and I'm pretty open, pretty loosey-goosey on what the drawing aspect of it could be. I mean, I want a 20 by 24 drawing of 473 characters, all of them in a battle, everyone wearing completely unique and individual outfits, and all of them talking about all their hopes and dreams. That's not happening. But if it's putting your face and including you in a page, I did this recently with Julie Topaz. She lent me her likeness for a 3-page or 3-prompt suggestion that you saw me do earlier of blue topaz headdress, and that was a lot of fun. That really was. So 77th. Welcome, 77th. Retcon Doomsday Clock and restore the Snyderverse. Oh, okay. You just had head injury. I wish I could speak like Donald Duck so I could volunteer. I think a bad Donald Duck impression is just as valid as a good one. If it just amounts to you sitting at home and trying to read any page, that's good enough to me. I love it. I'll put it on there. Deal. That's a deal, Janet. Deal. Shake, shake, shake. Shake, shake, shake. I do that. I think that's funny. Just sounds like Donald Duck when they're mad. Right? Right? So big thanks to Lori for all the help she's been giving me this week in the studio. It's not like she hasn't been supportive before. Boy, oh boy. But she's been actually physically in the studio with me a lot this week and helping me get through some of the really challenging things about getting everything ready with the book. So I think Dee Dee would like the idea of Janet doing a Donald Duck impression. Yeah, lots of claps for Lori. Thank you so much, everybody. She's pretty great. Speaking of greatness, there's this guy named Gary Hodges who's put out this book called DVSM. By gum, it's a good one. We like it. And I highly suggest people checking it out. Please go and look up Gary's DVSM. Gary, if you're here and you can tell people where they can look it up, that'd be great. Very stylish, very avant-garde, this haircut. Not everybody can pull off a flat top that is that high. So, okay, so our first panel is to put our main character into the contextual narrative. And the way that I'm doing this is by having him being snapped by all kinds of photographers. So the idea here is to get some camera lenses. And yeah, the best way to represent this isn't by somebody holding up lots of cell phones, but with the old stereotypical big lensed cameras. So we'll put a couple of those in there. And then we'll do some cell phones too, since, you know, this is the way the world is working now. I got something in my eye. Secret truths. Secret truths. All right. Is there anything that anybody else is working on that that they want to let other people know about? Please. I know I say this, but I really do mean it. You're more than welcome to promote something instead of something idiotic like the Snyderverse. So, yeah. That, by the way, was my first time putting somebody in a timeout. I don't know if that was somebody that's like legitimately coming in to say, hey, you know, I really enjoy what you're doing, but first off, the first thing I want to say is something stupid about a movie that nobody, it doesn't have any impact on people's lives. Maybe it was somebody, but either way, it's dumb. I mentioned earlier this week that I think the internet is making us all dumb. And the more I think about it, the more, oh my gosh, you realize all the ridiculous things that we're all getting up to at this point. You know, why bother remembering anything? Why bother reading any real literature when everything is so easily accessible? Didi says, a new portrait commission put Serena errands this morning. Taking a break, streaming again in the morning. Oh, yes, indeed. I'm so sorry, Didi. Of course. If you haven't already, and that number is going to be minuscule in this planet we call the Earth. But if you haven't checked out Didi's stream, what are you doing? Tomorrow morning, Monday mornings, and Wednesday mornings, she streams live, and she introduces a lot of people to a lot of interesting new approaches in scrapbooking and idea generation. And she's introduced me to a number of techniques and in art making and craft making. And I'm trying to implement things as I go because I love new things to learn. I love them. Okay, so I've got flash cameras and traditional cameras and cell phones and all kinds of business going into his face here. Whoops, that's a little low. Don't forget the size of this guy's shoulders. So please check out Didi's channel. You're welcome, Didi. Thank you. Really supportive artisan, and not just very talented, but really supportive of a larger community, and that's impressive. I like that. I like when we support one another. So, okay, a couple of things. This is the third of the Frankenstein pages that I've done. The previous two were in my book from last year. And so I'm going to carry over that motif. Let me find one of those 2 pages. Number 5. So this is Stephen's first day at kindergarten. And so the first panel, hello, my name is Stephen. I'm brushing my teeth, is going to go right here. And then we get right into our story. And in this case, our tan lavender. So my idea that I'm approaching this page from, I set it off the cuff as soon as the 3 prompts came in. Fashion show. Why not? You got tan, you got lavender. Why not make it about style and design and fashion? So that's what we're going to do with this, and have some fun with that. Because if you're not having fun, what are you doing? There are times we're making a page, telling stories, making visual elements and art and whatever else you want to call it. There are times when it's a bit of a slog, where it feels a little bit like labor, but for the most part, I think that you've got to figure out ways to make it as enjoyable as you can. A mixed media, collage, drawing, coloring. I rarely scrap it. I'm so sorry, Dee Dee. I'm so sorry. Yes, thank you. I apologize. What I was thinking about was with because of your journal, the scrat journal that you were showing, the journaling. I think that's why my brain did that. Junk journaling, I think you called it. So he says, I do love to promote other channels. Kat says, I can't stop jelly plate printing. Whose fault is this? Dee Dee's. It's Dee Dee's. It's right there. It's right there in the chat. It's Dee Dee. Not me. I have nothing to do with that. Born Art Journaling. Nice. Really good at it. Okay, so I've got his big shoulders in here. I got to get his big lapels up there. Right? Now, there's only so many ways that we can look at drawing a recognizable Frankenstein's monster akin to the Universal franchise. But the way to keep it from being repetitive is don't rehash the same drawings over and over again. At the very least, draw them each time. I know that sounds like unnecessary amounts of work, but it helps. So our first panel that we've got in here is, I've got a couple of hands holding up cameras and recording the fashionista that is the Frankenstein monster. So I'm just going to put another large lens over here. I have a headache. If you haven't figured it out yet. I start my day generally with just a tiny cup of coffee. Today I did not. So I'm having it now. An hour from now, I'll be running circles. That's okay. We got that generator wheel that we built in the backyard for me to hydropower the house. So charge up enough energy of me just running in circles. I wear a helmet. It's okay. It'll be fine. I don't want you to think there's anything dangerous or weird about it. We save on bills. These are the kind of rumors, by the way, I want to start about myself. So, at night, he runs around in a giant wheel in the backyard of his house, hooked up to a generator to power the house. No, I didn't know that. Is that true? Guess so. How do we verify this? Well, there's a motor on his house, so we can't go check it there. No coffee headaches are the worst. Yeah. Yuck, coffee. I need my coffee, Cat. I never really was a coffee guy for the most part until when you get in a routine of it and you don't have it for one day or something like that, your body recognizably craves it. Or if you don't drink coffee and there's any other kind of stimulant, you would know about that sort of automatic craving that your body has for it. And it's, what am I going to do when the apocalypse happens and solar flares knock out all the hydro? Where am I going to get my coffee from then? What are we going to do? Okay, so here's our first panel that we've drawn in, and put in another circle here. So this is to represent, flashes from cameras, right? Bless your heart, Stephen. I started drinking coffee at age 4 with Grandma. Oh my goodness. Was it like this, Didi? Were you over at your grandmother's house while she was babysitting you for the afternoon? And you're like, Grandma, what time is Mom and Dad coming to get me? And she said, in about a half an hour. And then she said, drink up, honey. Drink up. Drink up that whole cup of coffee. Your parents are coming to get you. I'll teach them for dropping you off. Was it in any way like that? I will drink coffee if I have to use lake water or move to Colombia. I pretty much lived there. Oh my. Yeah. Here, have some coffee, honey. Now go in the back and get in that big wheel. Okay, Grandma, put your helmet on. You're going to make it like it's a normal thing. I don't know what FB meant. Her iPad hates her. Boy, oh boy. Siri hates her. iPad hates her. She has a hard time with the technologies. Okay, so here's our first page of the Frankenstein monster. And so the initial idea here is to introduce the contextual narrative right off the hop. We've established that there's all these reporters around them for the celebrity aspect of the character, right? And so now we need to kick it and have him represent him as the fashion designer guy. And so we're going to do a case of extremes at this point and make him pretty fancy. I'm going to dress him up as like Edna Mole. It's fashion, darling. It's fashion. Okay. I'm just looking up a picture of a fashion industry. Boy, there's a lot of useless information that I just don't want. You know what I should have done? I should have drawn him in sunglasses. Oh, sunglasses. Or you know what I need to do is the tape measure over the shoulder. Do you drink tea, CMP? Gary says, I'm baffled by this coffee. Hot takes. Some days the only thing that I'm looking forward to is my coffee. How are you, Gary? Coffee. Maybe not that bad. But yeah, some people really, really heavily rely on coffee. I worked with this one guy, and he would just declare coffee like it was an explanative term. Like he'd say, hey, how you doing, Brendan? Coffee. Just a minute. And he'd walk away. That'd be it. That's the whole conversation about how he needs his coffee. Coffee. CMP doesn't like tea. Doesn't like tea either. Oh my gosh. When I have a bad day at work planned, I sent my... Such a great sentence. I don't know if you realize, Gary, how great that sentence is. When I have a bad day at work planned, if you're planning to have a bad day at work, I incentivize myself by saying, we'll get up early and go get a nice coffee somewhere. And then we're going to make it absolutely insufferable for everybody at the office. I have planned this to be a bad day. Take that. Okay, so I'm going to draw our Frankenstein monster I'm giving him his large hands and as he's doing his clothing design here. So, but I'm giving his hands a bit of a shape that sort of says, let's do some drawing. Let's do some things and make some stuff. So Gary says, sometimes you know the day's agenda, what the day's agenda is, and know, well, just got to get through it. Jim says, I'm sorry to be critical, but I've just got to say this is the absolute worst Taylor Swift fan club meeting ever. You've hardly mentioned her. You want to talk about Taylor Swift? Let's talk for a minute about Tony Bennett. Hey, now there was a cool kid. Taylor Swift, she owes everything to that cool cat, and everybody's going to have to pay some penance. Yeah. Taylor Swift. Hey, she's an all right girl. She's got some pipes. She can sing. Complains a bit about boyfriends, but oh, what are you going to do? Yeah. Talk about a hot take. Jim, unless she's in your movie, Jim, I don't care about her. But what if Taylor Swift was played by Tony Bennett? All right. Hey, cool. That's an all right kid. He can sing. And now Taylor Swift performs My Boyfriend Broke My Heart Again, and I Want to Stab Him in His Face. Played tonight, the part of Taylor Swift will be played by Tony Bennett. I'll do this all day. Jim, please tell Taylor that Koviak is mine. Koviak! And if you don't know what the Koviak reference is, that cat is alluding to, please check out the films of Mr. Jim Lou. Because Jinky Scoop, all the kids are doing it. All right, so this next image that I'm putting down is to have Frankenstein's monster with the tape measure around his neck, you know, the whole little bit of business there. Just because that's what you have to do if you're a fashion person. That's what they all do. They wear measuring tape around their necks. Always. In case they have to measure something. Always. So I talked about a couple things at the start of the show about making these available for people on the Patreon and incorporating some of the new stuff like jelly plating and things like that, all different ways and different materials that we can use to interpret an eye. So look forward to that, folks. Question of the day. How do you feel about people standing up during concerts blocking views of those sitting? I am 6.5 feet tall. I sit and block people's views. The struggle is real. The struggle is real. Yeah, I had a person stand behind me at a show. I had been there. There was an oasis of space around me. And when I first stood there, and so these trendy hipster bozos stood behind me at a Modest Mouse concert, and he taps me and he says, sorry, sir, can you move over? We can't see. And my friend that was with me, he's just like, how do we not get in fights everywhere we go? Because I turned around and went, you're a moron. You stood behind the tall guy. Move somewhere else. So his friend was laughing at him going, I told you, dude. So good. I haven't been to a concert since the 70s, and back then I wouldn't have noticed. Oh my goodness. What does that mean? Yeah, if you're standing up in front of seats, you need a kicking. My favorite thing at a concert, though, unless you're the person directly behind, We saw. I took my oldest son to see the Tragically Hip, and the tour before their last, and before Gordon's passing, and this couple stood up in front of us. Now, Sean is my oldest son. Sean is 6'2", so the two of us, this couple stood in front of us, and they had those tan leather coats with all the tassels hanging down, because that's very hip and modern, and they're hammered, and they're dancing around, just slamming the beers back. And I told my son, I said, "Listen, it's fine. We got 25 minutes of this tops," but we could still see for the most part. And about 20 minutes later, he went over top the people that were in front of him, and one more down, and because he slipped while he was dancing, and he spilled and tumbled over 2 rows in front. And they said, "You got to go home," to that guy. And yeah, that was Sean's first rock concert, like big rock concert that he'd been to. So he's like, "Does this always happen at the Tragically Hip shows?" Yes, there were people in the nurses department before that show even started. That was interesting. I saw this question on IG yesterday, but people hold their cameras blocking your view. People are inconsiderate. Stay home. The fringe. Fringe. Thank you, Didi. That's what the tassels are called. What's the best ruler to whack an inconsiderate person with? Would you go to steel or reinforced wood? We really want to know this, though, Janet. Kat says, my boss flew Tony Bennett in for a company party. I didn't mind when people stood in front of me. Hey, that's okay, because Tony didn't mind it either. He was too busy having a great time. Okay. You don't like Tony Bennett? That's all right. You can do the worst Tony Bennett impression all day long. I can do that all day long. The kid really can. He just goes for it. He doesn't know when to stop. All right. Does anybody know what you call the little bit at the top of a sewing machine that wiggles around? And it's got the thread attached to it. Does anybody know? Huh? Anybody? Starts with a blah. I took sewing when I was in my teens. I took home economic classes, so I sew. I sew things. I can sew. I have a whole bunch of needles and different kinds in my studio because I can sew. Okay, Janet says, use a heavy plastic quilting ruler, Jim. It might leave marks, but the best part is they won't forget it. And it doesn't, oh yeah, that's a thing. And it doesn't damage the ruler. It's called a twiggler. I'm guessing the thread post. Yeah, the thread post. The bobbin. There's a bobbin. Oh no, the bobbin's the other part. Oh, see, I'm an idiot. All right, it's exactly the thread post that I just made. Boy, oh boy, I don't even know my terminology anymore. I'm never going to be allowed to touch a sewing machine again. Actually, I do a lot of stitching by hand. That's another one of the things that I'll put into my mixed media stuff is I actually put thread in there. I'll actually sew pieces of paper together for no reason. If everyone, this is Gary answering today's question of the day, is it inconsiderate to stand when people stand in front of you at a concert? If everyone is standing, it's fine. If not, sit your butt down. And as for taking pictures and vids with your phone, sparingly. You're never going to look at those pics. Watch with your eyes. The days when home economics and woodworking were grade school classes. Gary for the win. So many accidents, so many memories. I remember that. Home economics in grade school. I took it in high school as well. I went to Princess Elizabeth, and very good teachers that we had there. One guy sewed his hands together. He literally ran his hand right through the machine to stitch these two fingers together. Oh, you got to have some skill for that. He just sat at the machine screaming. What are you doing? Pull your hand out. I got thrown out of Momac on the regulars. No wonder I can't do anything. Was it because of smoking cigarettes? I have this impression. Now, I don't need any kind of confirmation or anything about this. But I got this impression that some of the characters that are appearing regularly in my stream here with us were troublemakers when they were younger, and may well be bad influences. And I'm completely fine with that. They're all very talented creators, though. Well, there's always one, Philip says. About Janet? That's great. I got thrown out of kindergarten for picking a fight with a kid. Oh, yeah, this was last week. How do you get thrown out of home ec on a regular, Janet? What are you doing? Burning everything she cooks. One day it was for this. I was telling a table of girls that the teacher was necking with her boyfriend in the car, and he was rubbing her leg. Oh, busted the teacher. Of course you're getting kicked out for that. Of course you are. You can't spill the beans on teachers like that to the other kids. I got kicked out of a textiles class because the teacher her name was Nicole Gibson. And if Philip went to Baylor, he might know who she was. She was really nice. But I remember when she got married to a guy named Crozier, and I asked her if she planned it. Excuse me. Thank you. I don't need that. You know what? Go talk to Mr. Layton. And so I had to go and talk to him. And he said, it's an interesting question. It's just inappropriate. Oh, no. He was rubbing her leg. She said, go further, and he drove all the way to Mexico. Oh, man. Look out. One day, it was for this. I was telling the table of girls the teacher was necking with her boyfriend in the car. He was rubbing her leg. She said, go further, and he drove all the way to Mexico. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. I had to tell the truant officer, too. Oh, no. Did the truant officer say, hey, try the meal. Hey. No. Okay, so I'm putting little bits and bobs, and little in this case, in the image in the foreground to try to sell the whole he's a fashion designer thing. And so I'm sort of building this up as we go along, because I want these different elements like pieces of fabric on the table and so forth, and draped about, and so that when I color this, I can actually put some textured patterns in the fabric here. So, mind you, his outfit is always going to be the same muted, mundane thing that it is. And I like sticking to this sepia palette that I had in the first two pages. So I'm going to continue on with that. The truant officer was afraid of my mother. Well, you got to know her personally. Janet. That was all you. So yeah, if they're constantly having to explain to your parents that you're a troublemaker and your parents fully know that, they're not going to appreciate him coming and explaining that you're being a troublemaker. Troublemaker, by the way, is a term that's used in Lori's family because that's what her brother calls everybody. All the guys in the family are troublemakers, and all the girls in the family are angels. That's how he says it. So, all right. So we've got our first Frankenstein image down. And so I think that one of the things that I want to come across here is that he's your very artsy. Oh, I love it. Oh, that's fantastic. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but that's why they call me Mr. Poopers. I got nothing. But if you're going to listen to a Rio Statics album, I highly recommend, and I'm going to write it down how it's spelled. Rio Statics. Right? There it is, right there. Now, if you're going to look up a Rio Statics album, I highly suggest you check out Double Live, because it's got so much good stuff. Oh no, Janet's mother worked for the school district. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. All right, so I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I'll finish this one in a second, but I'm just trying to get one more panel together before we all part from one another and go on our way. Got to go pick up today when the grandkids from their day program. Our little guy named Maverick. He's a cutie. He says, "Hey, Dad." He calls everybody Lori is Mom, because he calls Mom and Grandma Mom, and he calls his dad, and he calls Grandpa's Dad. It's just in his head, no muss, no fuss. Everybody's the same. Masculine this, feminine that. Saves him on thinking too much. Leaves his mind and focus to be on other interesting things, like, hey, what's that stick? And, I got a car, No muss, no fuss, that kid. I love it. When I was a kid, when we got in trouble, they gave us castor oil and Limburger cheese, and then Alfalfa would sing. Yeah, like that. Jim around with the deep cuts, ladies and gentlemen. Jim, you aren't that old. Sometimes did you put soap in his glass of water so that when he started singing, bubbles came out of his mouth? And then that dog that was given a black eye would do the same thing. I know it wasn't given a black eye, but it's funnier that way. The workers. Did yesterday's as I was working through the number and letter page, did that make much sense to anybody, that approach to it, by putting, did I make more sense of it by doing the dialoguing as we went, is what I'm wondering. It was a different attempt, different approach. What, no Spanky? How about Buckwheat? I like him. He's okay. Who's the little boy with Buckwheat? What was his name? Because they worked because they were a pair. Because he was always quiet. He'd hold his blanket, or he was, I can't remember what that kid's name, but he would actually crack me up because of the fact, like, he and Buckwheat together, and you go, okay, and the other kid would go. I should remember that kid's name. I'm going to have to look it up now. There's a comic by Eric Powell called The Goon. You know what? It's showtime. Okay, I'm going to get this book. Okay, so Eric Powell is really fantastic and brilliantly funny. Judy says, I saw the finished page. I thought it was funny, Christopher. Thanks, Judy. I appreciate that very much. Okay, so Eric Powell is a fantastic, funny creator. And this is his character, the Goon. Okay? And the Goon lives with his pal Frankie down at the end of Lonely Street in this place called Heartbreak Hotel. And yeah, see, he was in a bad relationship, and she left him for another guy. So that's where he moved. So anyhow, in this world where Frankie and the Goon live, there's all these zombies and stuff running around like it's normal, or there's a werewolf, etc., etc. But that's Frankie and the Goon. And look at it, he's got a character putting a sign pointing to his face that says "overrated, bum, hack, punk." Anyways, Powell is brilliantly funny. The reason that I bring him up so impromptly, words are not working for me today, is that there is a story. I'm holding my sneeze. I'm not going to sneeze. I'm not going to do it. There's a story in The Goon where he fights a werewolf that's been bothering this part of the town. And so he takes on the werewolf, and because the werewolf can't control himself, it says, "You're going to have to do it, Goon." And so he kicks the werewolf's butt, but then they find out that the werewolf has a cub, a little boy werewolf that back at his den. And so there's a house full of orphans down at the end of Lonely Street. And so the Goon and all these orphan kids look up to the Goon. So the Goon brings this little boy werewolf, and he drops him off with the kids. And but the best part of this is the little werewolf boy has a circle on, like just different colored circle around his eye and his fur. And the kids that live down at said orphanage are very clearly our gang, right? It's very clearly Alfalfa and Spanky and everybody else, Buckwheat. And so the little werewolf boy, as he's dropped off, represents Spot. So it's one of those little jokes that somebody just throws away. Here they are. So this is some of those kids. And there's your Alfalfa. There's your Spanky. There's the quiet guy. But the McGregor Home for Illegitimate, Wayward, and Possibly Homicidal Youth. So these kids are, and that's what's her name, the little girl, Valerie, I think it was. So they're giving this little boy werewolf to keep as their dog. He's not meant to be kept as a dog, but as soon as they get him, they say, "I'm keeping that kid as he's going to be our dog." Anyways, Eric Powell is one of those creators that he has a beautifully unique style. His characters are brilliant. Look at the creature that feeds on the flesh of the dead. Because you demanded it. Cannibalism. Tastes like chicken. The Goon. Like, his stuff is just, he does what he wants. He does his own thing and his story, and he doesn't have to make too much of an explanation about it because it's his book and he'll do it the way he wants. That's the girl that broke his heart. And you know where it happened? I'll tell you what. It happened in Chinatown. Why? Because that's Chinatown, Goon. See, it's just nonstop pop references, but brilliantly good stuff. And I highly recommend people check out Eric Powell's work. He was a circus. There he is. Here he is when he's in the circus. He was a circus barbarian, but he always wears the hat. So, is that the Ripley's font for his name? I don't know. That Little Rascal art is hilarious. It really is. All of his stuff is really good. He did a series of Superman comics for DC where he brought Bizarro back in to DC. I want to see if there's any of the Bizarro art in here because it is ridiculously funny. Oh, that's him doing Madman and a bunch of Image characters. Like, this is the red-eyed witchery from beyond. Like, this is his new character that he's got called Hillbilly. And then, which is this crazy old hillbilly in the woods that fights the supernatural. And then he's got another character about a little girl, strong woman for a circus. And she's, like 3 feet tall. She's a little girl, but she's got a big beard and mustache. And she's called Chimichanga. But just great work. Just great stuff. Anyways, please check him out. He's a fantastic creator. This is David Bowie tribute, I think. Yeah, this is David Bowie. It's just good stuff. I thought I saw the Justice League page. Yeah, there's the titles, by the way, of the trade paperbacks for the Goon are so fantastically funny. There's Chimichanga. Isn't that great? There she is. Chimichanga's the demon that she has as a pet, but she's a strong girl, so. He's just Planet of the Apes, right? Just good stuff. Here's his Big Trouble in Little China adaptation that he did. Like, it's just, he's a very real talent. Here's here you go, Gary. There's King Kong taking down Gary and Philip. There's King Kong, Skull Island, beating up a dinosaur. Well, that's not going to go well. It's Godzilla. Just a real talent. Yeah. There's The Spirit. That's a Will Eisner character. There's his Judge Dredd. Like, it's just, he's one of those talents. There's his Buttman, or whatever his name is. But here's his Bizarro. This is what I wanted to show you. This is his Bizarro superhero characters for DC. And he takes all of that sensibility from his independent work and he brings it to mainstream superheroes. And it's fantastic. So, yeah. Eric Powell. That's your thing of the day. That's your book of the day, yokes. Okay, where's what I was working on? Yeah, fun stuff, Kat says. Yeah, I like him a lot. The Wicked Things What Men Do, and Hell's Half Acre and Its Evil Comeuppance. These are the names of the trade paperbacks that collect his stories. You know, it's just so independently his own style, and I just appreciate that with any creator, that they have an authentic voice, and if you can do that and at the same time be unapologetic about it, because this is just my thing. If it's not for you, it's just not for you. But at the same time, it's not done with any malicious intent. Like the Goon clearly references all the things he loves. He's got Little Rascals, he's got Elvis, you know, he's got Chinatown, Polanski's Chinatown. Like, there's just, I respect that so much when a creator can incorporate all those elements like that. I like when people do adaptations, but they do them with their own version and own style. That's like Massimo, I think it is. Massiasimo. I can't pronounce it. I'll get it. There's a Spanish artist that did the Star Wars books. So he did adaptations of the Star Wars films in this highly animated style, and they're gorgeous. But I think it's. I look at the back. It is Igor Chimiso and Matteo Piana are the two guys that I'm thinking of. But Chimiso's version of characters, is that glare too bad? There we go. I mean, it's specifically them, but it's in such a beautiful and simplified style. And yet at the same time, it looks like an animated film. And I love it. It's a lot of fun. It's got a real 70s aesthetics, you know, to it, like the Rankin and Bass sort of facial structure, or sort of a similarity to Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings film from the 1978, I think it is. But just this wonderful fluid movement, and yet at the same time, a real sense of the tactile of something touching something else. And You know, you really get the sense that there's weight in the spoon as he's holding the spoon there. It's my favorite scene. Yeah, it's the best line in the whole film. That and hey, what are you trying to pull here? Wow! You know, those two lines. First movie, best lines on the whole film. So yeah, I highly recommend these. These are so lovely. And he does the entire. They do. I'm sorry, the entire trilogy, and then they've done the entire prequels, and it's the best way I like the prequels because there's just something really wonderful and elegant about how the movement and these lines work and the dramatic tension in the figures. Like, it's just, and I recognize how very different this is from Lagoon, you know, from Eric Powell's work. But that's the thing about art, you know, it's that the authentic voice, like these artists have, working together, and then how Eric Powell approaches things. That's the stuff that sort of makes you look at something and appreciate it a little bit more, is because you realize that this is theirs. Other people might not have done this project in such an interesting approach. So I try to look for those things. I try to, rather than just looking for your standard, you know, generic style of whatever else, if you can find something that's got that real animated sort of and yet European vibe to it, that's fun. It felt to me like a healthy take on the Star Wars motif. So, okay. So with the Tan Lavender Frankenstein page, I want to change up the wardrobe a little bit. So I will be putting in some of this tan and lavender colors into his outfits and into the designs that he makes. But I'm sure that there's some realization already about where I'm going with the direction of this page. Does anybody have any idea what it is that I'm going to do? Like, does anybody here have any real idea about what my thought is for what would be a fun spin on Frankenstein as a fashion designer? And I'm not saying this in a way it's a fish for, well, what do I do? I've got an idea. Does anybody have any idea what that might be? Just for fun, just to see if people are figuring out how cracked I am yet. Dean says, oh, Kat says fun stuff. Dean says, looking good. Thanks. Jim says, shoulder pads? You betcha shoulder pads. What else would he design? Come on, big shoes, shoulder pads. So I'm going to try to close out here with, you know, him standing at the side of the stage as all these poor wafer-thin supermodel types are trying to raise his clunky boots with his gigantic oversized clothing. And of course, all the clothes are going to be tailored for him and not for them. So just because that's funny to me. It's a fun little game. It's a fun little game that many people in my lifetime have played, which is called, hey, let's try on Chris's jacket. And while the person who's putting it on gets, you know, then assaulted with, you look so tiny, you look tiny in his coat, you know, then there's the whole, how big is that coat, you know, platform shoes, torn jeans. Oh yeah, the only way to fly, right? If I can give them neck bolts, I'm going to do that too. So just something, you know, something fun for the kids. Just some little bit of fun for the kids. Yeah, you gotta have the opportunity to just lean into the bit, right? And in this case, his his fashion is very clearly unique. So why not just capitalize on that and say, it is a fashion choice. It's not that these are the things that he found and that's what he's wearing. So, yeah, I'm glad that somebody got it. But there's also some fun ideas in that too. How far he can take it. Like, what if boy, maybe he paints him green. So I was also going to do, and this is for Philip, I was also going to give him big shoulder pads. Not quite Carl Burnett big, but not too far from it. Philip likes some big shoulder pads. I think Frankenstein used to date Grace Jones in the 80s. Well, I mean, she wasn't perfect, but she was perfect for him. A little bit disappointed in myself in that one. That only works if you know any Grace Jones songs. All right. Yeah, the Hair Wars. Oh my. There you go. None be afraid of me for I am. Yeah, that'd be great. You should get Grace Jones on one of your projects, Jim. I'm sure she's available. Grace, could you read the following line here? Because I can. Don't forget to eat your Cheerios, Judy. Yeah, that'd be great. My knowledge of Grace Jones begins and ends with Conan the Destroyer. She was in that movie? She had a hit in the 1980s. I don't know what, early 80s. Where she's like, I'm not perfect, but I'm perfect for you. And I'm like, no, you are not. That woman scares me, She's like a cautionary tale for a date. Did you buy me flowers? No, that'd be scary. It's just generally scary. I might be a bit of one of those, what do they call us, sensitive boys. Yeah, we had some really great sort of musical acts in the 70s, 80s. I guess we're going to the 80s at this point with like Kate Bush. I knew a gal who was an absolutely massive Kate Bush fan. And so she basically made herself look like Kate Bush, which is funny because her sister was a big Stevie Nicks fan, which my wife really likes. And so she did everything she could to dress like Stevie Nicks. So you can imagine these two sisters together. When they're together, they kind of look like Ann and Nancy Wilson from Heart, strangely enough. And then I knew at least two people that did the complete Pat Benatar look, right? And but I never met anybody that looked like Grace Jones. Never met a gal that. But London's an incredible. This is a honkyville for the longest time. This city. So we didn't have enough ethno-diversity in this city for you to see anybody that might look like Grace Jones. Nowadays you could, sure. But back then, 70s into the 80s, in the honkyville. You want to test out sunscreen for white people, this was a city to go to. Yeah. We had Commonwealth parades in the downtown of the city right up until early 70s. waving flags and British flags around and stuff. Hello, we're our own country. You know. For those of you who don't know, in the United States, the Commonwealth is British. When you guys fought, to be free of the British government by paying them a stipend of money so that you'd be recognized in the country, but you still have to pay to the royal family, because that's why George Bush was able to be nominated as a knight. It's because technically you're still within the Commonwealth, although unofficially you're not beholden to it. Or officially you're not beholden to it, but unofficially you're still part of the Commonwealth. That's the only reason that they could nominate George Bush Sr. for knighthood. Isn't that ridiculous? Did you know that? Secretly British. Canada. We just know we are. We just don't care. Like, you can get nominated for an OBE and a British, or a knight of the British Party, and live here in old Connecticut. Never leave it, in fact. Governor Generals. We have a Governor General. The Governor General's position here in Canada is to go and talk to the Queen and say to the Queen, every term, Your Majesty, may we open the Canadian Parliament? And she says, yes. Well, she doesn't say it anymore. Now her son says it. But and then they go and report to the monarchy on how Canada is faring, and at the same time, inform the monarchy of new ideas and changes that Canada is making to how it operates. And it's 2023. It's been a while since we became a country. We're still doing it. 1867. No, 1867. Sorry. Although one of our provinces joined in like 1950. Still hadn't completely become a country yet. And the funniest part of it is the last province to join Canada as a country was called the Newfoundland. It was one of the first lands found. Yeah, it's we do things in a roundabout ways here. We want to hear some other tawdry Canadian things? Our Prime Minister has great hair. That's the extent of my political knowledge. I really do like the idea that Frankenstein and Grace Jones having a fight over hair gel that'd be a fun thing. So this is my hold it right there, darling pose. Did I miss something? No. That was that Wilt Chamberlain that was in Wilt Chamberlain, Andre the Giant, and Arnold Schwarzenegger? I think we're all friends on that one. Just putting in some high contrast. All right. Did anybody see the remake they did of Hercules a few years ago? Or not Hercules, I'm so sorry. Conan. They tried to do a remake of that a couple years back. Terrible. You can understand him? That's not right. He seemed to be agreeable, and he didn't have any of his barbarian attitude. He says, no, I didn't see it. Yeah, it was just bad. It was a bad, one of those little bad, they got to do something to keep a license. I had a conversation with somebody a couple of days ago about, are you excited about this new Marvel project? And I'm like, no. What do you think about the Brody situation? I had asked. You're making words. I hear sounds, but I don't know what they mean. If anybody asks you, here's the thing for you, okay? If anybody asks you any questions about the Marvel film universe, and do you think so-and-so is a Skrull, okay? This is, you say to them, anyone could be a Skrull, and just walk away. Just walk away. Anyone could be a Skrull. You'd never know. And just look at them with the crazy eyes and just walk away. I always keep them guessing. I learned that when I first came to this planet. I mean, a while ago. All right, so we're putting our shadows on our fashionista Frankensteinus. There we go. So we got 3 panels down. So I gotta finish this one of him designing his fashion stuff, and then it just becomes the whole swing of here's what he came up with. It's a fun one. All right. So now, because I've got the gutters matching this one, but I've got this space here, similar like the previous pages, I'm going to overextend this panel. So as this panel wraps up at the top line here, the central panel will lean over farther into that panel, run there, and then do the same thing down below into the outside of the page. And that's sort of the uniformity of that image that I put on each of the Frankenstein pages. Hello, my name is Stephen. I'm brushing my teeth, right? So that panel bleeding in behind the other 2 panels, even though I'm switched to the format to the landscape as opposed to the portrait, I still want to keep that somewhat uniform. So keep that motif involved there so you know it's connected to the other ones. Okay. So, yeah. All right, that's let me think. Yeah, I got it. Okay. So I'm going to do the designer face for the monster is going to be, your panty looking around her face of Frankenstein. So we're just putting his eye in there. right to the top of the page. That's okay because this is the full bleed panel, right? And then I'm going to cut it and give a little room in the edit. Just happens to be the size I drew things at, the scale I drew stuff at. What time we got? Okay, it's 1:40. So you got the gist of where I'm going on this page. So the idea here is to just push this joke as far as I can that the Frankenstein monster is now a fashion clothing designer, and just to play with that convention. And these are fun. The Frankenstein pages, I enjoyed doing the two previous one. There is a suggestion that I had last year in the portrait format that I don't think I ever touched, and that was the Frankenstein's monster goes to a cowboy hoedown. So that's one I can put back in the book to do in the future. I did finally find that book of leftover suggestions for when I was doing things in the portrait format or in the comic book format. So I think that I'm going to bring a lot of those forward again. Now, some of them are, it's not very many of them. It's only a baker's dozen, but I still want to try to get these things done. So just because, but many of the people that had suggested things, I'd already done a number of pages. So it's not like somebody ever suggested a page and I never did a page at all for them. So, but we'll get those done and get them entered into the mix here. But as usual, if anybody has one-page ideas and wants to throw them forward, please feel free to do so. New from the creator of Depeche Mode, Ping Pong. Okay, so I'll get this finished off. Tomorrow morning, Dee Dee has her stream. Tomorrow evening, Jim has his stream. Please check out their two channels for Dee Dee Willingham and Jim Milan. And if anybody else has anything coming up, please let me know. If anybody has any one-page ideas or suggestions, please let me know. If anybody does an audio recording of any of the one-page stories that I've done and sends it to me, I will do an original piece of art for you. So yeah, lots of stuff going on. And I got to get back to it because I got to go pick up my grandson. But then we got some paperwork to do because today is the day that the PDF of the book goes in. So busy day. But in the meantime, I will get this posted for tomorrow. I will be back at 2 p.m. EST. And I hope in the meantime you work on some stuff. But I will see you tomorrow. Thanks very much, everybody. Oh, Dee Dee says thank you. And Gary says thanks. Thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate you all being here. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.